Hi, my name's Penny Snowball and welcome to the 7th section of our documentary series entitled In Search of My Mental Health, The Road to Recovery. This section is covering the subjects of abuse and abandonment, and we've already touched on it before, but we just wanted to go into more deeper discussions about it, really. For myself, I believe that the abuse that I experienced in my childhood, which I thought was normal and which I was told was normal, and which sometimes I'm even told I shouldn't be pathetic because, you know, everybody has to put up with those things. And I believed that for a long, long time. Well, actually, I believed it all my life. However, I now believe that that's rubbish, and I guess that this is me having my voice and, you know, breaking through those voices in my head and breaking through the barriers that have kept me in what feels like an emotional prison all my life. For me, the voices in my head, the behaviours that I learned as a child are what I took with me into my adult life. And I believed, as we were saying earlier, that everybody was going to behave like that, everybody was going to treat me like that, and nobody would be there for me, everybody would leave me. So in the end, I stopped asking for my needs to be met, and it was like there was this perspex wall between me and the outside world, and I just couldn't get out, and they couldn't get in, and it was a very, very frightening place to be. And the other thing about it was I used to look at other people. It was almost like I'd lost a connection between a part of my voice and my mouth. I don't know, it's a weird thing where I'd watch other people. It's like almost like living in some sort of bubble. I'd watch how come they can get their needs met. What are they doing that makes the people around them help them or do these things for them. And I sort of slowly over the years, I've come to realise that if I have different people around me, the right people around me, and I ask for my need, find a language that asks for my needs to be met, then that starts to break down that barrier. That's my experience of, I suppose, explaining that impact of it on my life, really. I don't know if there's anything you sort of relate to on that.
Yes, because I think early experience, you're just thrown in there by chance. You know, it's just sheer bad luck that you're born into a family that doesn't come up to scratch and can't meet your needs. But I think it can be a horribly familiar place where you do surround yourself, or sort of people do surround themselves with people who behave in exactly the same way, that although it's sort of awful, it's familiar.
Okay.
And it's sort of safe. And I think that sort of goes on a very unconscious level. So that sort of consciously you're looking for the right people, but on some level the wrong people draw you in.
Right.
And I don't even know if that's a two-way process, because I do think it's sort of unconscious level.
Yeah, it's really
You know, there's that
interesting.
sort of familiarity.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? This goes back to the subject that I was talking to with my domestic abuse outreach worker, for example, why women keep going back to abusive relationships, that kind of thing, and it's because it feels familiar and they don't know that's all that. What do you think about it, Rich?
I think there's a sense of security in it. You know, I think our brains aren't equipped, as I said in an earlier session, our brains aren't equipped for I don't know. We don't like I don't know. So if it's something we feel safer in a situation that we know, because we know we can deal with it, than in a situation that we don't know. So to take myself out of an abusive situation and put myself over here where it's not abusive, I don't know what that's going to be like. So it can be more fearful, because I can invent all sorts of problems that can occur in that situation than this situation, because I know what's going to happen there. So not knowing what's going to happen, because for me, if I'm a negative person, what's going to happen in this situation where I've taken myself out, everything's going to go wrong. You know, I'm going to starve, and there's going to be no food, I won't have anywhere to live, I won't have enough money, I won't have anything. That's what normally happens with a woman, I think, if they're going to take themselves out of a relationship which is abusive. To get yourself from there to there, I'm going to lose all of the security that I have, even though it's abusive, and I will have nothing. So therefore it's too risky to go from there to there. So I will stay here in this abusive relationship.
And I think I've spoken to you before about how abusive people throw the blame onto the people that they're abusing. You know, and their way of thinking is, what they'll say to the person that they're abusing is, you made me do it, I'm entitled to it, you have no right to anything else. And that sort of almost forces itself into the person's psyche. And so then it's sort of such a struggle, such an immense effort to get out of that frame of mind and actually know, you know, and sort of push it all back, particularly if it's a sort of childhood thing. You know, and some great big person is sort of, this is your responsibility, you know, it's not mine, it's yours.
So if you hadn't done X, Y and Z, you as a child, like if, you know, you made me hit you because you were so badly behaved that I had to do that, then that makes the child feel...
That's all I can deserve. That's all I can expect.
They also feel guilty and ashamed. If you're going to be pressurised or constantly bombarded by somebody that it's your fault, in the end you start to feel guilty and ashamed.
Yeah, that's true, that's true. Yeah, what have I done?
And it's going to happen quite quickly too, because I know worked with several people who have felt guilty and ashamed because their parents have died and they felt that it was partly their fault. Because, you know, they may have been using or may have been involved in drugs or alcohol, and their parents have died and they've taken the blame for it.
And the other thing, and I think the other thing is that you were saying about nobody likes to stay in that place of not knowing or that place of total unfamiliarity. And everyone wants to try and make sense out of the universe. And so rather than what on earth could be going on, I don't know, and staying with that not knowing, it's a lot easier just to say, it must be my fault.
Yeah, I mean, I've spent the majority of my life, in fact all of my life, thinking, what can I do? What have I done? What have I done? Everything is always my fault. And I haven't completely shifted out of it yet. And I found it in the treatment centre, actually. There was like, you know, there was an incident with somebody there and I really was triggered by them. And I really reacted to it very badly. And I couldn't understand why I was being told it was my fault. Because as far as I was concerned, they had done something that was so not okay. And because I reacted to it, I'm told, you've reacted, or there was another instance, you know, with something else that happened. And I find it very, very difficult to kind of pull myself back from that and think, well, what did I do? And what didn't you do? And then if there's a situation where something happens and the person says, well, if you hadn't done that to me, then I wouldn't have done that. And I'll be going, oh no, okay, so it must be me then. It must be me. I still find it hard to separate and think, hang on a minute. I do.
And I can understand that, because it is hard to separate, because if you trigger an event, if you say something and that triggers an event, you take responsibility for the whole event, not allowing yourself to say, but your reaction is your reaction, that's your fault, not my fault. If I'm bad, well, I'm bad, but if you react badly to my badness, that's your problem, not my problem.
But it's to do too, I think, with sort of early abuse.
It is huge. It's massive. Yeah. But that's what we do, because we take responsibility for the whole thing, and we say it's my fault you're behaving that way. So if this person's beating me up, it's because I'm not behaving properly.
Yeah, that's right. That's true.
And your boundaries have been beaten out of you, so you can't say this is your stuff.
You've lost those boundaries. And you lost your boundaries when you were a child.
Yeah. What were you saying about early abuse? You said
this. I was just going to say the same thing. Really, it breaches it. It sort of shatters people's personal boundaries and people's personal space, and so then it's really difficult. What's my own and what belongs to the other? Because it's being broken sort of so early that it's sort of really difficult to differentiate
between
mine and yours.
Wow, amazing, isn't it?